crafty friends, it's Rick. I'm back with another video. Today is our first Wednesday of the month, which means it is time for another palette scout video. So we are going to create a card using a palette from the Palette Scout. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's from Zollie to help crafters create palettes that go along, that are cohesive and all match together. I will link the first video I did right up there where I explained it into more details. But we've got our color card. I've already picked out the colors I want to use because we're going to do a analogous palette today. So the color that I picked out to focus on is pine, which is, there's our 5 colors in our pine family. And it goes from light to, dark to light. You have 4 different shades in that, and we're going to do an analogous color, which means a color palette, which means we're going to be using a blue and a yellow green. So I picked out Neptune. If you look on the little key card here, it tells you that square is Neptune and that circle is Reed. So I've already pulled those colors out that we can pick a palette from. So there is our colors that we're going to use, our color families. So I know I'm going to use number 3 on that one and 3 on that one. And then I'm going to use number 1 here. Because the whole idea is to take the cards, pick out a palette that is cohesive. You want to get a range of values, and each number stands for a different value. So we're going to use 1. I think I'm going to switch that one out to 2. And then let's see, we need to add a couple more colors in. You want to arrange. So I'm going to pull in my lightest color, which is 5 from Neptune and a 4 from Reed. No, we'll pull in 4 from Pine. That way it gives us our pine color represented twice. And then Reed and Neptune are our accent colors. So I'm going to put those to the side. I'll set this over here, and we'll go ahead and put this to the side. I'll put the cards back together in a minute. I am going to do a St. Valentine's Day or St. Patrick's Day card using the Lucky Gnome stamp and die set from scrapbook.com, which, by the way, at the time of this recording, is on sale on the website for $9.99 for both the stamp and dies. It's a fantastic deal, but we're going to use that for our card. I did pull some cardstock that we're going to use for some matte layers. I pulled a navy card base, which is close to our Neptune. And then this is close to our Reed. And we're going to use coloring. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to stamp a couple of my little gnomes. So I'm going to do alcohol marker coloring. So we'll pick out a little gnome or 2. I'm going to do this little gnome right there, and I'll do that little gnome. And then I'm going to do the large sentiment as well. So I'm going to do that right there. I'm going to stamp my gnomes down first, and I'm going to stamp those in tuxedo black because I am going to color those. So there's that. We'll go ahead and stamp that one more time, and then we'll go ahead and stamp our sentiment as well. So we'll go ahead and stamp that down. So there's that. All right, for our sentiment, I'm going to do it in Lush Forest ink from Pink Fair Studio. So it's going to be a nice dark green. So I will stamp that twice, just like so. So we'll stamp that down. So there's our stamped images. All right, I decided I needed another. I'm going to stamp Happy St. Patrick's Day in as well. It's part of the stamp set. So we're going to stamp that on there, and I can die cut that out. So we've got that on there. I'll move that to the side because I'm not going to color yet. We're going to work on our background panel first before I do the coloring. In the set, we have a little, some small stamps. We're going to use those. And I'm just going to create a little cluster. And I'm going to actually just pick those up with a block in my little cluster there. And I've got a piece of white, smooth white cardstock I'm going to use to just stamp on. And let me just move that to the center. I'm just going to use my Misty to hold it in place. And we're going to stamp in. I'm going to start off my background using a medium shade of green ink, which is close to our pine. So I'm going to stamp that first. And I'm going to come down on this corner. I'm going to come right over here and stamp this. We're going to create our own little pattern paper. And I'm going to switch colors. I'm going to come in with a little light green ink. This is Lime Ricky from Catherine Pooler. We're going to stamp that in there. I'll stamp that one right there. And then we'll come over here and we'll add that one right there. And then we're going to add this trio right in there for that. And I'll come down to this side, add one over here. We'll go ahead and add some right here. Get that turned around. There we go. I'm going to change ink colors. We're going to go back to our darker color. I am going to add some blue in as well. So we're going to add our darker green color. Turn that around where I can get that in there. Come to this side. We'll do one right up there. Then when I get to the point where I can't fill in with the trio anymore, I'll separate them out and do an individual colors. This time I'm going to come in with suede shoes to pull in our blue of our palette. So we'll add one right there. We're going to add one. We're going to nestle it right into here. Then we will nestle one over on this side. We'll come right up in here and nestle this right together. We'll add one up in here. Now I'm going to take these off and I will individually stamp a few around to fill in some extra spaces. I'm come back to my medium shade of green ink. And I've got my little clover. So we're going to stamp some of that around to fill in any open spaces that we may have. We'll just come around. I will add additional colors as well as needed. We're going to switch over to our Lime Ricky. We'll add a few more of these. Just sprinkle them around your panel as we are building up our Analogous color palette. I'm going to switch over to the Good Luck stamp and I'm going to add just a few more of those here and there. There is our background panel completed. And I will move our background panel to the side so that we can let that dry a little bit. All right, now we're going to do a little alcohol marker coloring on our images. I have pulled some OLO markers in our color palette. Plus, I did throw in a little gold just in case we needed it. But I'm going to start off and I'm going to color the little noses and stuff first. take our coordinating dies and we will line those up, secure these into place with just a little bit of mint tape. So I'll put that on there. We've got our St. Patrick's Day sentiment. All right, I've got all my dies lined up, and I'm gonna run this through my Scout machine to cut all of our little pieces out. So we'll take and pop that in. We'll run this through our die cutting machine right here. So I'll pop these out and I'll set these to the side, and then we can work on the rest of our card. I'll put those away in just a minute. All right, we're gonna cut down one of our pieces of white cardstock. I'm gonna cut it down for the inside of my card. I'm gonna cut that down to 4 by 5 1/4. That way it gives me a place to write on the inside. Our little panel here, we're gonna cut this down to 3 3/4. I'll start that side first. I'll use that for the inside of my card. I'm gonna cut this down to 3 3/4 by 5. Then I have that other piece of cardstock, that light green, we're gonna use as a matte layer. So that's gonna be 5 1/4 by 4. All right, I'm gonna take this little piece of paper that we created, and I'm gonna add liquid glue behind it. I'm gonna add this to the inside of our navy card base. So I'll flip that over, I'll cut off this excess, and that can go on the inside of our card base. Just like so. We have a nice little decorative edge on the inside. I will layer on our little panel here. Then we will layer this on. Make sure that's even. Add that. There's that. See how our palette is coming together? We have our sentiment. I think we're going to add a little bit of vellum to that so that we have a little bit of separation between our focal panel or our background panel and our focal images. So let me cut a piece of vellum and I will be right back. All right, I had a piece of green vellum that goes with our color palette in my stash, so I'm going to use that. We're gonna go ahead and attach this on. So I'm gonna add just some dry adhesive back there. We're gonna add this to our card. And then I will take foam adhesive and I'm gonna pop this up. So I've got some foam tape right here. I'll peel this backings off of this first. We'll add a little bit of liquid glue. And then I'll add our sentiment right there. We'll add a little foam tape behind each of our little gnomes. I'm not gonna pop them up as thick. I'm using thinner foam tape for them. So I'll cut a couple pieces of foam tape for them. We'll add them onto our card. We've got our other little gnome right here. We'll pop him on. So he'll go right here next to his little friend. Then I've got my little happy St. Patrick's Day sentiment right there. I think I'm gonna add this to the inside of the card instead of the outside. So we'll just add that right on the inside of our card right here. We'll come in and add some white gel pen highlights to our little guys. We'll just take and add some highlights to them. Add it to our little pot of gold. Get this little hat over on this side. A little over here. And I'm going to add a little bit of shimmer with some let's see, snowflake glitter pops of color. We're gonna add some to our pot of gold, and we're gonna add some to our little clover here. to finish off our little card. All right, my friends, here is a look at the card we just made together today using a color scheme from the Palette Scout. Here is a look at our colors. So we really didn't end up using that one. We did use our navy. We just used a little bit light of our shade. So I switched that for that one. Got our yellow green, our navies, and our pine, which is just our regular color. And we still have a nice cohesive analogous color palette for our card. So if you're interested in the Palette Scout, I have everything linked and listed in the video description below. So you can check out the supplies that I used today. If you like this video, you're probably going to like the one coming right up over there. I'll see you in that video. Bye, guys. Stay crafty. Love you.